Hi, I'm Adam Yoder. I'm a physical therapist and athletic trainer for Carle Sports Medicine at the ARC, located on Peabody Drive on the U of I campus. This tutorial should take about 15 to 20 minutes and is designed to help you identify and correct ergonomically related issues at your office workstation in order to minimize injuries associated with bad working posture and repetitive stress. There are a few exercises at the end that you can download for yourself or your coworkers. If you have an injury, work-related or not, you can use the link to find out how to get physical therapy services through Carle Sports Medicine at the ARC. Ergonomics is the relationship between your body posture and your work environment, which is your chair, desk, monitor, and keyboard. An ergonomic injury occurs when either you are using sustained poor posture positions and/or your work environment is not set up to accommodate good postural alignment. When trying to make changes in your posture, set a time frame for every 20 to 30 minutes to remind yourself to realign your posture. Sustained postures at your workstation can predispose you to potential injuries. In the picture on the right, depicted with the arrow, you can see that the low back is in a curved, flexed position, which may put more stress on the low back, and as you can see, the spine is not correctly aligned. In this picture, you'll notice that the individual is very close to his monitor with the neck in a non-optimal position. His neck is flexed and protruded forward, putting more stress on the cervical spine. There are several things to consider when setting up your workstation. OSHA has an excellent website on the proper way to set up your workstation, and this includes monitor position, desk seating, chairs, and keyboards. We will go through these in more detail in the following slides. The goal when setting up a workstation is to keep your body in a neutral position. A neutral position should feel comfortable, and it should be one in which your body is naturally aligned. When the body is more naturally aligned and in a neutral position, there will be less stress and strain on the muscles, tendons, and skeletal system. It will also reduce your risk for potential musculoskeletal problems. This slide provides an excellent overview of your position at your workstation. The hands, wrists, and forearms should be straight, in line, and parallel to the floor. The head should be level, never turned to one side or flexed downward towards the floor or bent upward towards the ceiling. It should feel natural and balanced, in line with the torso. The shoulders should always be relaxed, never tensed. The upper arms should hang normally and relaxed at the sides of the body. The elbows should stay in close to the body and bent to around 90 degrees. The feet should be fully supported on the floor or a footrest if your legs are not long enough to touch the floor. Your back should be fully supported with an appropriate lumbar support when sitting vertical or slightly leaning backward. A good chair will have a nice lumbar support. To help you achieve this position, an external support can also be used if the chair does not provide good support in the low back. Thighs and hips should be about 90 degrees or parallel to the floor. There should be about a 90-degree bend in the knee. The knees should be about the same height as the hips, with the feet slightly forward. We will go through these in more detail in the following slides. This is a picture of a person in an upright sitting posture. You will notice, starting at the head, that the head is directly above the shoulders. You'll also notice the shoulders are directly above the hips. This is a very vertical position, and then you'll notice that there's a 90-degree angle between the hips and the low back. You'll also notice in the lower extremity that the lower limbs are bent to 90 degrees at the knee. The feet sit just below the knees. This is an excellent picture of someone sitting in a good upright posture. Standing workstations have recently become very popular. You'll notice that this person in the picture on the right is working at a standing workstation. The same principles apply in standing as they do in sitting. You'll notice that the head is directly above the shoulders, and the shoulders are in line with the hips to the knees and the ankles. If you drew a straight line from the ear to the ankle, you would notice that there is a nice vertical line. You'll also notice that the monitor is set up just below the gaze of the eyes. So the monitor just sits below the natural straight gaze of the eyes. This is an excellent example of someone with good posture at a standing workstation. The picture on the right depicts a person sitting in a declined sitting posture. The person is declined but still maintains good sitting posture. The difference between this and the natural alignment in the previous sitting slide is that the person's hips are slightly above the knees. The feet are also slightly out in front of the knees. But you'll still notice that good angles are maintained. The head is still in line with the shoulders, the monitor sits just below the gaze of the eyes, and you have a slightly larger angle from the hips to the low back. This is a good example of someone sitting in the proper declined sitting posture. This slide depicts someone sitting in a reclined sitting posture. In the picture on the right, you will notice that there's a larger angle between the hips and the low back. It is around 105 to 120 degrees. This is a slight variation from the upright posture where the angle is around 90 degrees. You'll still notice that there's good angles throughout the person's body. The head is just above the shoulders. The person is slightly reclined. The lower legs are parallel to the floor, and the feet sit below the knees. The person's gaze is slightly downward towards the monitor. This is a good example of someone sitting in the proper reclined sitting posture. Oftentimes, our work chairs or vehicles do not provide adequate low back support. I often recommend people to use an external lumbar support such as a rolled up towel to fit in the small of the back between the person's back and chair. The person then reclines back with the upper body and shoulders touching the seat. The knees are bent to around 90 degrees and the feet are flat on the floor. It is not recommended to cross legs while sitting or tuck one leg underneath yourself when sitting. This can put more stress and strain on the hips and low back. When setting up your workstation, particularly your monitor, it is recommended that the monitor be 20 to 40 inches away from your eyes. This is to prevent eye strain at your computer. The monitor should be placed at or just below eye level. This puts your eye to computer at an optimal position as well as the positioning of the neck. It is also recommended to periodically rest your eyes by looking at an object farther away For example, looking at a clock or out the window at least 20 feet away. When setting up your keyboard at your workstation, it is advised to put it directly in front of you. The shoulders should always be relaxed and the elbows close in by your body. The wrists should be straight, in line with the forearms. Do not rest the wrists on the desk in front of you. This puts more strain on the wrists. You'll notice in the picture on the right that the wrists and forearms are in line. The elbows are directly in against the side, the shoulders are relaxed, and the head is in line with the shoulders. When setting up your workstation, it is recommended to do the majority of your work inside an arm's length. If you are repetitively reaching out past your arm's length, this will often compromise your posture and can potentially lead to musculoskeletal problems. Therefore, it is recommended to work in a zone that is at least within an arm's length the majority of the time. You'll also notice in the picture that seldom access points should be farther away. Occasional access points should be slightly inward, but the majority of your frequent work should be within an arm's length. Armrests can be very helpful in maintaining optimal posture at your workstation when used correctly. You will see in the picture in the center of the slide, the person on the left maintains a relaxed position. The shoulders are relaxed, the elbows are underneath the shoulders and reach the armrest nicely. The forearm to elbow is a 90-degree angle. If someone has a chair with armrests that are too high, you will notice that the shoulders raise towards the ears, creating tension in the shoulders and neck. It is also important not to have the armrest too low, as this can result in hunching over or bending forward to get the elbows down to the armrest. This will put the neck and shoulders in an awkward position, creating more stress and strain on the neck and shoulders. The picture on the left is an example of someone sitting in poor posture position. You will notice that the ears sit forward to the shoulders. The shoulders are slouched and forward of the hips. You will notice that the mid-back is rounded and the natural arch in the low back has been lost. This is common for people working at a workstation improperly. You will notice the person on the right has changed their work posture. This is an exercise I often give to help develop awareness of posture. I will have the person start in the slouched position. I will then have them arch their lower back to achieve natural arching of the lumbar spine. I then have them squeeze the shoulder blades together to bring the shoulders back underneath them. This will allow them to bring the head underneath them. I then have them imagine that a string is attached to their head, pulling them up towards the ceiling. These cues will help a person maintain proper sitting position. This can be done at work every 30 to 60 minutes, 5 to 10 times to help achieve proper posture. Oftentimes, when people sit with poor posture at their computer, their head becomes too far forward from the shoulders. The front neck muscles often become weak and are not engaged in properly holding up the head. The exercise on this slide is an exercise I give to people with weak neck muscles and sometimes forward head posture. The person in the picture is slightly tucking the chin and engaging deep neck muscles. I will have the patient hold it 5 seconds and repeat it 10 times. This exercise can be done in sitting and in laying down flat on their back. If you notice at your workstation that you tend to sit with the shoulders slouched or the head forward, an exercise that you can do to help maintain proper posture is what we call scapular squeezes. The person sits upright, and then the goal of the exercise is to squeeze the shoulder blades together. This pushes the chest outward and brings the shoulders back. This helps maintain a good alignment between the head, shoulders, and hips. This exercise can be done 10 times, holding it for 3 to 5 seconds. This can be done several times throughout your day, every 1 to 2 hours at your workstation. People who sit for long periods of their day often lose mobility and flexibility in their low back, especially bending backwards. This can create problems and pain in the low back. Oftentimes, I prescribe standing lumbar extension to help people maintain and regain low back mobility. The person stands, puts the hands on the hips, and relaxes the back and bends backward as far as they can go until they start to feel a stretch in the low back. This can be held 2 to 3 seconds and repeated 10 times. This can be done every 1 to 2 hours throughout the day. Keeping a lumbar roll in a seated position will help maintain the natural curve in the back and help decrease stiffness and mobility deficits in the low back. People who sit for the majority of their day can start to develop tight hips. The hip flexor muscles, the muscles in the front of the hip, often become tight after prolonged sitting. It is advised after 2 to 3 hours to stretch the hip flexors to maintain and increase hip mobility. You will see in the picture the starting position of the person in the upper left-hand corner. The side to be stretched is in a kneeling position with the knee down. The person then pushes the hip forward, creating a stretch felt on the front of the hip. The stretch can be felt for 20 to 30 seconds. This can be done 3 times, and then it can be done several times throughout the day. It is also advised to stretch the wrist to help maintain proper mobility, especially when someone is at a computer for longer periods throughout the day. The picture on the slide shows a person stretching the wrist. You will see that the person extends the arms. With the non-stretching hand, the person wraps that hand around the hand to be stretched, pulling the fingers back towards them. The elbow is maintained straight. The stretch should be felt in the wrist on the underside of the forearm. This can be held 20 to 30 seconds, 2 to 3 times. This can be done every 1 to 2 hours throughout the working day. This may help prevent any wrist-related work injuries. We have reviewed proper posture at a workstation. We have also reviewed exercises that may be beneficial for preventing pain related to your workstation situation. We cannot guarantee that these exercises will prevent pain or cure pain that you already have that you feel may be related to your workstation situation. If you would like physical therapy, you will need a physician referral. For appointments, you can call Cheryl to set that up. If you have other questions about posture and ergonomics, please feel free to contact me. We hope that you found this beneficial, and we hope that you can apply this to your work setting. We thank you for your time.